Hey guys, how's it going? It's Cheryl. And for those of you not familiar, I am the organizer and the founder of the Autism Parent Support Network called Our Autism Lifestyle on Facebook right now. Formerly, we were a nonprofit organization called the Queens County Parents Autism Coalition Incorporated in Queens, New York. So I'm doing this video today to share with other families only five. There's actually more, but for the sake of length of time and the briefness of this video, I'm going to share 5 misconceptions that have been said to me in the previous years at my daughter's IEP meeting. Now, this is over a course of time. These are my favorite ones. And maybe some of the families out there, maybe these have also been said to you. So before I go into that, I wanted to share with you guys just some resources on some books that I've actually found really quite helpful in my journey of being an autism parent and advocate. So the first one is this book. It's called, if you can see it. Okay, this is a great book. I like it. It's been very helpful to me because it's in clear-cut English, very easy to read, very easy to understand. So it's How to Compromise with Your School District Without Compromising Your Child by Gary Mayerson. So that's the first one. And then I actually have this book for a very, very long time as well, which is part of the Rights Law books. This is From Emotions to Advocacy. This is the second edition that I have. I'm not sure if they have a newer edition. I've had this for such a very long time. And this is by Pam Wright and Pete Wright, founders of the Rights Law website. I actually find the Rights Law website to be very, very informative. It's www.rightslaw.com, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I will actually look it up after the video and post it in the comments. But I believe it's rightslaw.com. And then the other one that I really, really like, but this one's a little bit difficult to understand because it has a lot of law jargon, but it's a good reference to have in your library, as I've had it for a long amount of time, a couple of years now. And again, I've had this for a very long time. I don't know if they have a newer edition, but this is the Special Education Law 2nd edition book by Peter W.D. Wright, Esquire, Pamela Dar Wright, MAMSW. So this is a really good book to have in your library as well. Again, I don't know if they have newer editions. I need to still check it out if they have newer editions. But these are the books that have helped me along the way, especially in the beginning when I was advocating for my daughter at our IEP meetings. So, and also, I don't endorse those books in any way. They're not paying me to say this on the video. I have no contact with Gary Mayerson or Pam Wright and Pete Wright. They didn't ask me to talk about their books. I'm just sharing it with you guys as a parent because I have found them to be very informative. So I'm not being paid to talk about those books. I'm just sharing the information with you guys. So now that we have that cleared up, I'm going to tell you the 5 misconceptions that have been told to me at my daughter's IEP meetings over the years. So the first one is I've been told, because my daughter, just a brief history, my daughter has always well, not always, but as my daughter got older, especially around the time where she hit puberty, my daughter started engaging in maladaptive behaviors. Those are those challenging behaviors that now are impeding on her learning and her day-to-day tasks in the classroom. So at one of my daughter's IEP meetings, which was the triennial is the IEP meeting that you have every 3 years where the psychologist redoes the assessments. I was told at this meeting that I should look into medicating my child. So I know there's a lot of families out there where this was actually told to you as well, or recommended or suggested to you at the meetings. This is actually a big, big no-no. No one on school administration should ever recommend to you as a parent to medicate your child unless they are a physician. It is not in their scope of expertise to ever recommend medicating your child. Now, if anybody on school administration who is not a physician recommends you medicating your child, you can ask them for that recommendation in writing, as I did. And when I asked for this information in writing, then the tune changed. It was, well, it's just a suggestion. I'm not a medical doctor, but I just think that, there's other families. I'm not talking about other families. I'm talking about my child. So anything that you're ever unsure of, that you're not clear on, always ask for it in writing. Okay, so the next one is, in regards to my daughter's behavior plan. So, when a child has an IEP and they're engaging in maladaptive behaviors, there is a component that's additional to the IEP, which is a behavior intervention plan. Now, in order to have this behavior intervention plan created, an assessment needs to be conducted, which is called a functional behavior assessment. Now, in regards to my daughter's behavior plan, I was told that her team is not clinical, which was basically the justification that was supposed to be behind why my daughter's team were inconsistent in following the interventions that were on this plan. And for me, being a behavior intervention specialist in the field myself and working in a local nonprofit organization, rehabilitation program with adults who have disabilities, and looking at behavior plans on a daily basis, I don't claim to be an expert, but I feel that I know enough to advocate for my child. You don't need to be clinical to follow an intervention plan. A behavior intervention plan. You really don't. You should have some kinds of clinical training in order to write the behavior plan or work in conjunction with someone who has some clinical training in order to write a behavior plan. The problem and the big gripe that I have with these New York City functional behavior assessments and behavior intervention plans, that I've had a problem with it for so many years since my daughter has had one, is that it is a template. It is a very confusing template that clearly is not written by a clinical person in the field of applied behavior analysis. And a behavior intervention plan really can just be clear cut on the interventions to do to minimize or reduce the behavior, what to do when the behavior is happening, and what you should be doing after the behavior has happened, in addition to teaching the student replacement behaviors. It really is just clear cut, 1, 2, 3, just like that. These behavior intervention plans, I feel, are just so confusing, is so disorganized. It's not following any kinds of sequence, and no wonder the behaviors that they're trying to address are taking years to minimize and extinguish. So you don't have to be clinical to follow a behavior plan, because a behavior intervention plan is for the staff who are managing the behaviors. It's not for the students. So you don't need to be clinical to write the behavior intervention plan. The person that is writing the intervention plan, or who's writing it in conjunction with the teacher, should have some kind of clinical training. So that's a no-no, okay? When I write behavior intervention plans for my staff in the organization that I work for, they're not clinical at all. So I'm basically writing a manual on how my staff is going to uniformly intervene or proactively address behaviors before they even arise. Okay, so that's a misconception. So the next one that I was just recently told was that we don't have to redo the functional behavior assessment because the functions of my daughter, her behaviors have not changed. That is true to a certain extent. However, when the functional behavior plan is about 4 years old And now my daughter is going to be turning 18, and it was a different setting. It was different peers. The environmental factors that came into play when that initial functional behavior assessment, or FBA, was done no longer applies. And not only that, when you are creating a behavior intervention plan, it should be created right after the functional behavior plan was done. So my daughter's functional behavior plan and her functional behavior assessment, her functional behavior assessment and her behavior intervention plan, the FBA and the BIP. Sorry about all the acronyms, but in special education and when you're a parent of a child with with special needs in the DOE system, that's all that we hear is acronyms. So my daughter's FBA and BIP were like 2 years apart, which is, it doesn't make sense. So that is a misconception. They have to do the FBA over again, especially because it was different setting, a different teacher, different peers, and especially because it was 4 years ago, and especially because the BIP and the FBA were 2 years apart. So that's a misconception. It has to be done over. Number 4 is, this was actually a while ago. My daughter has a crisis management para, which is a one-to-one behavior para in the classroom, as well as a one-to-one crisis management behavior para on the school bus. So now this was in regards to both the bus para and the classroom para. I was told at an IEP meeting once that they felt that my daughter no longer required a one-to-one para. Based on what evidence? We feel that your daughter no longer requires a one-to-one para because she hasn't been engaging in any behaviors or over the past year or 2 or 3. So we feel we're going to take that service off of your child's IEP. My answer to that was no. If you cannot produce to me any concrete data of where you show over a specific period of time where she wasn't engaging in behaviors and what skills were being taught to her, or a fade out plan of some sort, a transition plan of some sort, then no, I'm not going to agree for you to take away her one-to-one crisis management para, because I know in the event, as soon as that crisis management para is taken away and she starts to demonstrate now these maladaptive behaviors again, it's going to be almost next to nearly impossible to put it back on. So never be coerced without physical evidence of removing a related service or a support system from your child's IEP without concrete, substantial data. Because once you remove that service from your child's IEP, it's going to be very, very difficult to put it back on. One of the services that was reduced this year at my daughter's IEP meeting was physical therapy, which is fine. My daughter initially, right now, was receiving it 2 times a week. Granted, she has reached a lot of her goals, not all of it. However, I did agree to reduce that to 1 time a week now. However, prior to doing that, I had asked the physical therapist to provide me the criteria that is required when she feels that she assessed that my daughter no longer needs the twice a week. So she said that she was going to provide me with a checklist, which is fine. Show me some kind of, data backup evidence. I need evidence. Okay. So never remove something from your child's IEP unless you're shown some kind of evidence. So if you're not comfortable with removing it this year, then you can start next year. But during that year's time, tell them to start collecting some kind of notes, some kind of data, some kind of way that they can measure or show you for sure that they no longer need that service. Okay. And the last one. So the last one is my ultimate favorite. So during my daughter's IEP meeting, I was being told or informed that my daughter has a habit of calling out in class when it's not her turn. Now, remember I explained to you guys that my daughter has a one-to-one crisis management para in her classroom as well as on the bus. They're 2 different people though. And my daughter's in a very restrictive setting because that's the appropriate setting for her. She's in a 6 1-to-1, and then she has her own 1-to-1 crisis management para. So I was told that my daughter likes to call out when it's not her turn or when another student is answering. And, I gave the team a brief overview on the functions of behavior. Now, the main functions of behavior applies to everyone, not just with people with disabilities or kids with disabilities. It applies to me and you. So just briefly, the 5 functions of behavior is medical, right? Medically, something's wrong. A student has limited communication. So let's say they have a headache. So their behaviors are going to communicate that, something is bothering them. That can be screaming, yelling, or anything of the sorts. Escape avoidance, which is, a task is too difficult, a task is too easy, so they're going to try to escape from that situation. They're going to try to run away. They're going to try to drop on the floor, any of those things. The next one is attention. You have a student that calls out all the time, or, they scream or yell, or they hit their peers, or whatever the case may be. That function may be attention, right? They want the attention of the teacher. They want the attention of another staff member. They want the attention of a peer. And the other one is tangible. Something concrete, something that they want, something, that could be food, that could be a staff person, that can be something physical that they had that they want. And the last one is sensory. Sensory is basically anything that has to do with the 5 senses. You have a lot of students in my daughter's school within this population where they're very sensory seeking. They put things in their mouths, they chew on things, they need something tactile to manipulate with their hands. So things along those lines, right? So I already know that one of the main functions of my daughter's behavior when she does that is attention. Okay. That's why I gave you guys the background out of that. I know one of those main functions is attention. So I now ask the teacher. So when my daughter does that, mind you, she has a 1-to-1 para that is sitting next to her for support. So I asked the teacher, when my daughter does that, what is it that you do? Because now I'm asking her this question because I want to see if what they put in their behavior plan, they're actually doing, or what's in that behavior plan actually is accurate. So she tells me, well, she's calling out. She's calling out. She's yelling. So I tell her, stop, Soraya. It's not your turn. That's my daughter's name. It's not your turn. You have to wait. So mind you, she's verbally communicating all of this to my daughter. So can you guys answer, what is she doing? I gave you those functions of behavior. She's answering my daughter and she tells me it doesn't stop. It keeps happening. So what is she doing? What is she providing that my daughter is seeking? Attention, right? So I told her, well, that's the problem because you yourself, the teacher, keep answering her. Why is not her 1-to-1 para that is sitting next to her doing that? She should be the one redirecting my daughter. So I told her that's why the behavior doesn't stop. Because you keep telling her, it's not your turn. Wait your turn. It's John Doe's turn. It's Sally Mae's turn. So of course she's going to continue to do so. So that was fun. That actually really was amusing, I should have to say. Because that just goes to show me, prove to myself, that the functional behavior assessment and the behavior intervention plan that was created is not efficient. And I honestly don't have a problem giving them the tips and the tricks, which I actually did, and the notes and a sample of the behavior plan that my staff at home actually work with or use to intervene with the behaviors which are similar to what's happening in school and help them basically create a behavior plan that I know is going to work for my daughter. But at the end of the day, why should it have to come to that? And I feel very concerned about the parents who are not as informed as I am, or even, let's say, another parent who may not have the clinical background that I may have, or the knowledge as much as, or the experience as over the years that I have, what happens to those parents? So those are the parents that I'm trying to connect with. I want to connect with you guys. Let's share information. Let's continue to share information. Let's connect together. Let's try to see if maybe one day we can try to change the format of this FBA and this BIP, because I'm sure there's other students in the New York City school system that have these these documents that it's just not working. So if you are an administrator that is responsible for maybe helping to change that, please contact me. You can email me at CherylOcampo11@gmail.com. That's CHERYLOCAMPO11@gmail.com. If you are an administrator in the New York City public school system or New York City state that has the power to maybe fix those templates, please get in contact with me, because they're not working. And I know if it's not working for my own daughter, it's not working for a lot of other students as well. So tell me in the comments, you guys, what are some misconceptions that you have been told at your IEP meeting, and what did you say in return? Let's educate all the other families out there. Let's share ideas, because when we stand together, we're more powerful. And I look forward to meeting with you guys in the near future at a training workshop. Please come and see me at the next parent support meeting. If you like this video, go ahead and press like. If you want to share my channel, go ahead and share it. You can subscribe to my channel as well. Comments, suggestions, anything, just put it in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.